Hello folks, and welcome back to Careers in Music. This week we're going to be talking about the musician as a listener. Not listening, but listener. The two careers that we're going to be talking about today are the music adjudicator and the music critic. As always folks, just a reminder, you can find this slide presentation on our Google Classroom if you wish to go through it at your own pace. Alright, let's begin. So just a reminder, okay, there are different, many different possibilities to work in the music industry, the music field. There's lots of different jobs, different roles, different aspects of the music industry, and we need people for all of them. So if there's something that you're really interested in music, there is a job for you. All right, so we've talked about the business person, the musician as business person, as creator, and last week we finished up as educator. This week we're going to talk about the musician as the listener with these two career paths, the music adjudicator and the music critic. All right, so what is an adjudicator? Well, music adjudicators often make a significant impact on students and music teachers that continues long after the music festival is past. Professional and friendly demeanor is expected throughout the day. Adjudicators attend training workshops to refresh their skills and review adjudication expectations and are paid quite well for sharing their expertise and talents with young musicians. If you've ever been to a festival in concert band, you'll see that there's always adjudicators that are sitting across from the band, across from the stage, and they're listening and they're giving feedback and giving you scores. And excuse me, that's how schools can win major awards for their musical talents. Okay, so adjudicators should make every effort to stay on time, even if it means a limited adjudication in some cases. Now, the word itself, adjudicator, okay, means simply in Latin, if you break down the English, okay, ad meaning to, judicate, to judge, And a lot of the time, adjudicators judge bands and they give rewards and feedback to bands of all different age levels, all different experience levels, and from all over the world. Even the Calgary Show Band has adjudicators. When they traveled to Japan a couple of years ago, there was adjudicators judges that they had to impress in order to receive major awards for the Calgary Show Band. All right. What else do we have here? So, adjudicators should avoid comparing festivals publicly. Okay, it's very private. You don't want adjudicators speaking to the newspapers and stuff like that. That's up to the festival organizers or the schools. Okay, adjudicators are expected to demonstrate appreciation for the efforts of the volunteers. Festivals do not run without the efforts and help from many different volunteer groups, and people out there who are associated with the festival typically aren't getting paid for that job. So they are volunteers. So it's important that adjudicators are respectful not only to the volunteers, but also to the bands and the band directors themselves. I've come across a number of adjudicators who are really kind, and there's a few that have come up from the United States to help adjudicate at the University of Calgary. But then even in high school bands, there have been adjudicators who are just not as nice as they could be. They're overly critical and give too much feedback that's not really constructive in terms of developing the band's sound. Okay, there's an expectation that the adjudicator will dress professionally. Okay, because typically adjudicators are being paid to judge these performances. There is a certain expectation that they do compose themselves in a professional manner. Okay, if, in the opinion of the adjudicator, the quality of the piano or the performance, the quality of its tuning, or the lack of an adjustable bench is objectionable, the adjudicator should not hesitate to privately draw this to the attention of the appropriate member of the festival committee. So you get a lot, even in festivals where there are individual soloists playing, there's often an adjudicator, a judge who is commenting on the performance of, say, a piano player. And if that adjudicator does not like how the piano is tuned or how the bench where the piano player sits, if it's too low or too high. They should ask the festival organizers and volunteers to help fix that and remedy that, because then that gives a very fair adjudication, a fair judgment in terms of scoring for these festivals. All right, and here's a really great example. ALEXANDRA BABBEL, okay, she is a voice and vocal adjudicator from the Calgary area. Okay, she's had lots of adjudicating experience at the school level, so middle school and high school level adjudications. But she has also adjudicated, as you can see, in festivals that happen outside of the school realm, as well as festivals that happen at specific music camps, as well as in university settings. So we've got the Shuswap Music Festival, which is in the Kiwanis-Fraser Valley, Langley area, the Vernon Festival, the Caribou Festival Society, as well as the Lethbridge and District Music and Speech Arts Festival. So adjudicators, just like ALEXANDRA, she travels all over the place to give feedback, to score, and to adjudicate, to judge bands, groups, and individuals. But remember, she is being paid for this, and so typically they would send an email out to well-known musicians and music educators asking them if they wanted to adjudicate, and then they would either say yes or no, and they would be paid accordingly. All right, our next profession, our next career is the music critic. So you've probably seen music critics all over the place. In this day and age of the internet, we have a lot of music critics, or people who claim to be music critics, talking about music, analyzing music, and giving their opinions and critiques on music in blog format and YouTube format. Okay, but the traditional music critic is someone who would typically write for a newspaper. And they are often a musician, okay, and that you really have to love music in order to write about it, okay. Some qualities that a music critic must have is they must have a good ear, well-rounded knowledge of all musical styles, both old, classical, and new, and a familiarity with the standard repertoire. They must have some ability to play an instrument. They should be able to read music and follow a score, especially if they're going to, say, an orchestra or a symphony, and they wish to critique and review the performance. They should be able to read the score to ensure accuracy of what they're saying to what the musicians are playing and how the music is interpreted by the director. They must have a good knowledge of the history and background of the style of music being reviewed. A critic must also have good writing skills, okay, and to be able to express in words what they see and hear. Okay, if you can't do that, it becomes very difficult. But in this digital age, a lot of music critics have created YouTube channels. And so they will actually, rather than write things down, they will give their critiques and their reviews verbally to a digital audience in the form of a YouTube video. So critics work typically for newspapers and magazines. Okay, a critic must know the audience for whom she or he is writing. And so if they're writing for a magazine, a rock and roll magazine, and they review and critique a rock and roll album, a brand new album, let's say from AC/DC somehow, okay, comes out with a new album, and they're critiquing and reviewing that album, they don't want to talk about the album and the music as if they were attending the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra. You want to make sure you know your audience, okay, that rock style audience, in order to write a proper review. Okay, to become a music critic, well, you have to have self-motivation, okay, and you do have to have on-the-job training. Usually there's a mentor, or you somehow get your foot in the door in a small newspaper and then work your way up to a bigger newspaper. Okay, the job market is quite tight. There's not a lot of positions out there. But many colleges and universities, music professors and teachers tend to be music critics. For example, there's a gentleman at the University of Calgary. His name is Kenneth DeLong. He is a music critic for the Calgary Herald, as well as the next gentleman that we're going to take a look at, typically for the Calgary Philharmonic, because he does have a background in classical music, trained at the University of Harvard, or Harvard University. The average range of a music critic, we got average salary range, of a music critic is $49,000 to $78,000, which is not bad, depending on how well you write and whom you work for. Here is our example. From Calgary, his name is Michael Bell. He goes by Mike Bell. Okay, he's a music writer and entertainment columnist. So, music critics today don't typically just write about music, but they write a lot about entertainment, so film critics as well. He also writes about the culture of music in Calgary. What is the music scene like in Calgary? We used to have a bigger jazz scene around these parts. Not anymore. It still exists. If you go down to downtown Calgary, there's a jazz club. It is called the Beatnik. It's really awesome. And Mike Bell, he attends numerous concerts to review them. And typically, as a music critic, you get free tickets to these concerts. And not only like orchestra concerts, but big name concerts that play at the Saddle Dome, that play at the Chorale, that play at even at Studio Bell. All right, folks, that's everything for today. Thank you so much for listening. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at any time, and don't forget to answer this week's discussion question. Adios for now.